It's now time for Remember When with Uncle John. John Guess, Ouachita County's resident storyteller and local historian. Sit back now and enjoy a walk down memory lane as John recalls the days of yesteryear in his own unique way. You never know, some of it might even be true. So here's Uncle John, along with his trusty sidekick, Kelly Blair.
Back on Remember When with Uncle John. Well, we have reached Wassling Wednesday here on the Remember When with Uncle John show. That means we got some wassling to be talking about. What do you think, Johnny?
Well, one of the greatest names as far as scamming folks and one of the toughest guys there ever was and one of the most unpredictable guys was Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer.
Mad Dog. He definitely fit the bill on that. Bruce Allen Woyen, we think is how his last name is pronounced.
And he only lived to be 32 years old, and he didn't have but about a 10 or 12 good years, in the business. But he made a lot of inroads in those few years.
He made his time count. That is no doubt about it. Now, Buzz Sawyer, it's hard to see. When you say Buzz Sawyer, the two things that immediately come to my mind, the first one, because I grew up watching Mid-South Wrestling, was his feud with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, where they spilled barrels of blood all over the Mid-South territory, and every kind of gimmick match, brutal chain match, lumberjack match, anything you could think of kind of thing and all that. And I think they fought every night for 2 straight years. But before that, he had a bloody, bloody feud with Tommy Rich that lasted almost as long, too. The man was known for feuds more than anything else.
Which their feud culminated in a cage match, which was the first time it was a completely enclosed cage, called the Last Battle of Atlanta.
I remember that.
And Tommy Rich won it, but they, like you said, buckets of blood.
They honestly, even though, wrestling might not be the most legitimate sport you've ever, encountered or anything, they say Tommy Rich was almost never the same after that.
But the guy is known more for scamming potential wrestlers than he is probably for anything else. So many of the people that became stars, whether it be the Undertaker or Magnum TA, paid him money to train them. He took the money and skipped town.
Oh, man, come on.
But now a lot of that is attributed to the fact that they wanted to discern, they wanted to weed out the ones that wasn't really dedicated.
Right.
But, those were 2 that were dedicated. And I know Magnum TA went all the way to Portland, Oregon to get his satisfaction from
his money back, huh?
But
well, they might call it a test, to make sure you're really dedicated. It still sounds like a scam to me.
The other thing that he's known more for than anything else was his unpredictability and his drug use.
Yeah, now see, this guy was called Mad Dog, and they could have put the 2020 behind it or whatever, because even as a young child, even when in the back of your mind, not all of this is completely legit. Some of it, I hate to use the word fake, but some of it is kind of put on. Some of it's a little exaggerated, but you didn't have to watch this cat very long.
No.
His elevator don't go all the way to the top, man. He's kind of nuts.
And his favorite pastime was fighting cops outside of the bar that he just got through tearing up. He loved nothing more. And this is what they all say. His greatest joy in life was completely wrecking a bar.
Good grief.
And then fighting with the cops when they come to get him. And then he would bond out and leave the territory. And usually the promoter would bond him out. And he would leave the territory and leave the promoter, holding the bag.
Holding the bag.
And that's why he probably didn't last long.
Yep.
The guy died at 32. Of a drug overdose,
Well, especially in the 80s when the wrestling territories were shrinking, he ran out of territories pretty quick.
But he was somebody that was entertaining, unpredictable, wildly bent on making you realize that when you went to see him, you might not think wrestling was real, but you were going to know he was real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he was going to be. They were going to spill blood. And they were going to tear up everything they could get their hands on.
Yeah, all the stuff that you might watch nowadays where they say extreme rules match or no rules match, lumberjack match, all that. A lot of that stuff kind of started back when Mad Dog and all them guys, they were inventing it and they didn't even know they were inventing it.
But he passed away February the 7th in 1992 in an apartment in Sacramento, California from heart failure due to a drug overdose, and nobody was surprised.
Yeah.
Nobody was surprised. Matter of fact, some of the interviews I saw, they were surprised he lived as long as he did.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was entertaining.
Didn't he have a brother that wrestled
Brett
too?
Wayne Sawyer.
Brett Wayne.
And I don't know what happened to him. I have no idea where he's at or what happened to him.
Well,
but
that'll give us something to do some homework on.
that'll give us something to look up for our podcast later on.
There you go.
We may find him working at the Goodyear store changing tires, and we'll interview him.
Down in Nashville, Arkansas.
That's right.
You never know, folks.
Absolutely.
Stranger things have happened. Hey, that's
Right.
going to wrap up Remember When with Uncle John Heffel today. But without Sherwin-Williams House Paint, ProMed Ambulance Service, and the Shopper's Guide, this little radio show would not be possible. Please go by and show them your appreciation by doing business with those businesses. I guess we'll see you tomorrow, John.
You mentioned Nashville, Arkansas. Terry Bam Bam Gordy of the Freebirds.
Yes.
His widow lives in Nashville, Arkansas.
Look out. And
That's
so
right.
does Alfred Neely.
That's right, Alfred Neely.
I feel a road trip to Nashville coming up soon.
Absolutely. See you tomorrow, Kelly.
You've been listening to Remember When with Uncle John on Y95. This broadcast can be heard each weekday morning at 6:45 on South Arkansas's favorite station, Y95.